Good afternoon, everybody. We're about 12 practices into what we would still consider fall camp. Even though school has started, we're still into fall camp, doing a lot of our installations and still our double reps, trying to evaluate an awful lot of players out there. Excited about the progress that we're making. We're still a ways away, in my opinion, from being a real seasoned team right now. But we're getting good work in, and we still have, better part of 2 weeks before we play. And I'm excited because the guys are practicing hard and learning and continuing to improve. So looking forward to some football here in September.
We'll go on to Fritchen.
Yeah. Hey, Coach. Just a little house cleaning. How many players have tested positive for COVID during your recent testing?
I don't think any in the last few, but I think with all the students come back, we'll see how we're going to be. I think every institution is worried about that over the next few weeks to a month with all the students coming back.
When will that next testing period be for you guys?
Right now, we're every Wednesday.
Okay. Who are some true freshmen that are really standing out for you right now?
Offensively, I would say Deuce Vaughn is really stepped out as a running back. Will Howard as a quarterback. You got a number of young offensive linemen that are doing a good job. But those two in particular on defense, we have some defensive backs. Defensively, we don't have that many true freshmen that are probably going to help us. But there's a couple of defensive backs and the two defensive ends from the Kansas City area, Felix and Nate, are doing a nice job as well.
Thank you so much.
Derek.
Yeah, Coach, something that hasn't been discussed much is that you do have to replace your starting punter from last year. I guess, what is the progress of that, and what do you kind of expect it to look like on the opener of the season?
Good question. It's kind of a work in progress. Devin was such a dynamic punter for us, and Jack Bloomer right now is competing with we hope would be Ty Zentner, but Ty has been a little banged up, and we hope to have Ty back either the end of this week or first part of next week to be able to compete a little bit more. We're replacing an awful lot of our players on punt as well within our shield and within our front line, and so it's been something we've spent an awful lot of time on. It's still an open competition at punter, and so we'll play it out over the next few weeks and see who ends up being the guy.
I know we're in fall camp, but obviously with the restrictions on recruiting, that's really impacted how that has kind of gone for you guys and all across the country. What are some of the kind of challenges with that, or has there been any positives with the way that recruiting has gone as well?
There's a ton of challenges, more challenges probably than positives, simply because you just don't get the face-to-face interaction, whether it's kids coming to campus for an unofficial visit, kids coming to campus for camps, the fact that we're getting into playing some games in September and they're not going to be able to come visit the school. So in that respect, I think it's difficult for all student athletes when they can't get on campuses to get face-to-face interaction. In the same respect, I think we're doing as good a job as we can as far as reaching out and touching all those recruits as often as we can. Taylor Bratt and Chuck Will, do a great job of keeping us up to date. And then as coaches, using our social media platforms and texting and calling when we can to stay on top of it as best we can.
Kels.
Hey, Chris, good to see you as always.
Good to see you.
Have you had any additional players inform you that they want to opt out for this season in the last couple of weeks?
We've had a few, and like I said, we're going to support those decisions, and then we got to move forward with the guys that are going to participate and play. But rest assured, we've supported those guys, and we're going to continue to supply them with the stuff they need, from the academic side of things to the mental health to athletic training, whatever it may be. It's probably, I would think it's going to slow down, even though you just don't know, simply because the NCAA came out and said this year really doesn't count. And so when you opt out in a year that doesn't count, then we really got to make sure that we take care of those guys.
Can you share with us who those players are?
No, not right now.
Okay. That was actually going to go into my next question. Just mentioned it, but how do you plan on handling all this extra eligibility, knowing that any senior on your roster could conceivably come back next season?
Something that we have not dove into yet. I know it came out on Friday, and we mentioned it to all the players on Friday afternoon that, hey, this is coming down with a kind of a freeze year. But we were still learning more about it ourselves as coaches. And I think we have to let this year play out for those guys to see how many games they play. You know, the seniors, is it a full season? Do they want to continue to pursue football? Some of them are getting degrees or already have degrees and potentially have jobs. And so it's something that we know we're going to have to handle here later in the fall, but it's not something that with all the things we have going on with trying to finish up what we would still consider fall camp, we just haven't spent a lot of time on it.
John.
Yeah, Chris, just to follow up on that, with Skylar, do you have any kind of a feel for where he might lean as far as that's concerned?
Not at all, and haven't brought it up simply because his focus, I think, is as well as every other senior, is on playing this year and not worrying about something that is, you know, in your control, but it's so far away that I think a lot of those seniors are saying, hey, let's just focus on this year and play as much football as we can. And so once again, we haven't talked about it as a staff at all because it just came down on Friday and we had practice on Saturday, gave the staff off on Sunday, reconvened with practice on Monday. It's just such a blur right now with the amount of practice and meeting time that we have with ourselves that it's not an area we've hit on yet.
After having some time to watch him now in a handful of practices, what is the ceiling for what Briley Moore can really add to your offense?
Well, Briley's going to be a definite impact player for us this year. I think you can tell his exceptional physical skills, whether it's blocking the point of attack, running routes. He's gained the respect from our older guys really, really fast just because of how he works and just the fact that he competes on every down. So he's going to help us. You can put him down as a tight end. You can flex him out. You can put him in the backfield. Really impressed with his ability to learn what we're doing. And so I'm excited to see what kind of year he has.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bet.
Seren.
Coach, thank you for your time. I'm curious, the protocols that you put in place, you talk about the students coming back and that's what everybody's kind of worried about. And there's plenty of videos out there on social media of kids and not having the best behavior. What rules do you lay down to your guys? Is it like nothing, nobody leaves? How do you try to, keep your kids safe when maybe on a lot of campuses there are things going on that probably shouldn't?
Well, it's going to be difficult. There's no question. There's still 18 to 22-year-old college students. And last Saturday was really the first night we had off simply because we were in camp mode and we had a lot of things into the evening. But last Saturday, and we talked about it as a staff, we talked about it with our leadership council. We can't practice every Friday and Saturday night for the whole semester. And so some of that you have to put on the leadership. And we've told the guys, you have to avoid large gatherings. You have to avoid groups of people where people are not social distancing and they're not wearing masks. Well, you can't really say, well, is this one okay and not okay? Guys, you guys know what we've been preaching and what our docs and athletic trainers have been preaching as well. You have to avoid the bars. You have to avoid the large gatherings. You have to avoid anything that would put yourself or your teammates in jeopardy.
And then I know you mentioned the recruiting, and I know it's really early, but have you seen any signs? There was a lot of people, maybe a backlash when the Big Ten and Pac-12 said that they were going to shut down and not play, that this was just going to crush them in recruiting, right? So if they're going to get crushed in recruiting, those kids have to be going or at least looking somewhere. Like I said, I know it's early, but are you seeing any kind of residual effect from their decisions that suddenly there's a wave of players that are now open to you that maybe weren't before?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. When you could see it is if they did open up recruiting and somebody would come to a game of one of the three power conferences that are playing to see a game day environment, even though it's not going to be a packed house, as opposed to not being able to get on campus to a school that's not playing. I mean, that could happen. Just on the flip side, it could happen in the spring where they're playing games and bringing people on campus and we're not playing games. So I think we'll see how that landscape plays out with the NCAA of how they're going to allow students or student athletes to come visit schools that are playing, and then what they're going to do in the spring as well.
And then just real quick, one more. On the offensive line, you've always had a great tradition and throughout your career of being able to pound the run, and that starts with the guys up front. You're having to replace a number of guys. Can you just tell me what the kind of the mindset is, or the theory, or how you instill that even if you're not a returning starter, we're still going to run the ball and be effective?
Well, we have a really good defensive line to go against and exceptional linebackers, so they're getting sharpened every day as far as going against great competition. And we're going to have 8-9 guys that are going to rotate in and play until we can find and maybe get the 5 or 6 guys that are going to be counted on for the whole year. But I've been really pleased with all the guys up front. Coach Riley's done a tremendous job. Noah Johnson, who's a senior, that's a center for us, has kind of been the leader right now as far as being the vocal guy. But I'm excited because we have interchangeable parts at guard and at tackle with probably 7 or 8 guys.
Mitch.
Yeah, Coach. Wyatt Hubert mentioned last week that he's taking his courses online. Do you have an exact number or maybe even an estimate of how many of your players are taking the classes online this year?
We were going to kind of let the guys decide that over the first couple weeks of class. And I know a number of them, especially the older guys, have gone to just strictly online. There are a few older guys that maybe will go to a class, see what it looks like, see their comfort level, because there's a few classes that they really want to attend. And if they feel comfortable that there's not many students in the class or social distancing, we've encouraged those guys that's okay to do it. I think we're going to find out an exact number probably in another week as guys finish getting their classes locked in, because there's some changes always in the first 2 weeks of classes with adjusting times and adjusting schedules. So rough estimate, I'd say 70% of them are online.
Fritchen.
Nickelback. What does the depth chart look like at that position right now?
At nickel, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
I caught just the last half of it. Will Jones is doing a really nice job as a redshirt freshman. He's put on about 25 pounds and done an excellent job of just learning what we're doing, being more comfortable in the system. TJ Smith, a true freshman's playing there. DJ Render, a senior, is playing there. Ross Elder is playing some free safety as well as some nickel. So we're kind of using Ross in a couple of spots. I think we have really good competition. Everybody has a different skill set. But Will is a tremendous man-to-man coverage guy and learning how to do some of the other things. So we have competition. We have some depth there.
And also Keandre Thomas. We'll be talking with him for the first time today, I believe. What can you tell me about Keandre and how has he been able to rise up?
He's done a great job. He's a really competitive young man. Excited for him that he's taken the challenge to come to K-State to help our team, to help himself. He's in the mix. He's going to play an awful lot for us. A real vocal guy. He's a physical corner. Gets his hands on guys. He's a good-sized young man, probably close to 200 pounds, 190, 95 pounds. So we're really excited about Keandre joining our program, and he's going to have an impact this year.
Adam.
Coach, Noah Johnson mentioned in his presser that with the inexperienced offensive line, he's not afraid of it, and he's happy to have a group of hard workers out there to go through the growing pains together. Would you agree with that, and are you excited to watch this offensive line grow together?
Well, there's no question that Noah makes the group have a lot of fun. He's the guy that has all the energy coming into meetings, and he's excited to practice and challenges guys. And I know that all those guys want to prove that they belong, that they can play at this level, that we won't miss a beat. I know that we lost a ton of experience, and it may take us a little while to gel with a brand new group of offensive linemen, but I'm excited about the athleticism amongst the group. I'm excited about the physical style of play and the fact that we have, at least 8 or 9 bodies, if not 10, that really are getting a great look. And I know that Coach Riley wants to give everybody an opportunity so that we can build more depth and have more guys through a long season.
And the two senior linebackers, Elijah and Justin, how are you seeing their leadership spread throughout the defense?
Well, for sure, Justin's the vocal guy, and he is a guy that brings energy every day and gets everybody else excited. And Eli is a workman. He does his job, and you can tell when Eli's on the field because our defense is just that much faster. There's some plays that you think, oh, they're going to be a good gain, and all of a sudden there's Eli, and it's a tackle for a loss, or somebody looks like they're open, and Eli can close the ground and get a pass break up, and so. Both of them are doing a great job. Both of them are excited about playing with each other, and they elevate our defense.
Max?
Hey, Coach, I'm sorry if you already been asked this during camp here, but curious, just are there any unique things that you guys are doing in practice or in your locker room or in your building that you just haven't done before in camp to kind of get ready for what's going to be a really unusual season?
Everything has been unusual. We're using the visitors' locker room as well as the home locker room. So not everybody's together. Unless we use Bramlage, we don't have a team meeting. So we've only had a couple of team meetings. When we lift in groups of 4 as opposed to just offense and defense. It's 4 groups to lift in. Position meetings, we're using the West Stadium Club because it's bigger areas. I mean, there's nothing that's been normal about this camp, and the guys just have to overcome the adversity. And the practices have been as normal as we've had, but other than the practices, there's nothing that's normal. When you go up to eat and you get in line and somebody's serving you as opposed to you serving yourself in a buffet line, and you have your mask on, and then you go sit with your position. Well, maybe I wanted to go sit with a quarterback. I'm an offensive lineman. Well, you can't do that. You sit just with the old lineman. They get tired of each other probably. But we're trying to do all those things to mitigate the spread and mitigate the virus. And so it's guys are probably getting used to it. It doesn't make it easy. It's just kind of our new normal.
Is that different for coaches too that have done the same thing every year?
Yeah, once you tell us what we got to do one day, we can be a creature of habit for the next 2 or 3 weeks on it. And that's just become our new adjustment to things. And, you got to go find somebody. You don't know where you're going to find them. You better look at their schedule. Are they group A lifting? Are they group B lifting? Are they group C? Or are they which locker room they're in? Where's their meeting room? Our wide receivers are up in the West Stadium Center. So all of a sudden I need to go find a wide receiver. It's going to take me a little bit of a hike. And so then we've adjusted all of our time. Usually you go right from a special teams meeting to position meeting. Well, we have to add 10 minutes of travel time. And so everything's been a little bit different.
Got time for a couple more. Kellis?
With Justin and Elijah on defense, these are 2 guys who've known each other forever. Can you see a special bond with them when they're on the field together?
Yeah, they communicate and they feed off of each other and they ask each other questions. It probably helped Eli that he had to play the Mike linebacker position all last year, where Justin is been accustomed to that. They can help each other figure out how we're going to fit a play as a run game example. But I just think there's a great comfort level for each of them to have their friend out there, a teammate out there that they've known for a long time, and they're excited to get to play together.
And if I can, what was that first practice like when you got Justin back after such a long wait? Did you instantly tell the impact or the difference there?
Well, from a vocal standpoint, without question, I know that Justin, being out of football as long as he was and missing spring ball, he's got to work himself back into football shape and work himself back into seeing things, because you just don't see pictures and things come really fast. And so I was so excited for him when he first day out there. I was like, boy, this has been a long time coming, not having spring ball. And you can tell he was just so excited and so blessed to be able to say, I get a chance to play football again. But I've seen over the last probably 4 or 5 practices the impact he can have as a football player, because he's starting to get his legs back underneath him. He's starting to gain strength in his knee where he has more and more confidence. And as he does that, it makes us all better, because when he's playing at a high level, it makes our defense that much better.